Welcome to the Ripple Effect by the Alliance. We are committed to raising the frequency of our planet. We'll discuss hot topics, share practical tools and sacred frequencies to reveal the magic in your life. Come laugh, cry, and have fun with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ripple Effect by the Alliance with myself, Sarah, Hannah, and Stacia. Today, we're talking about when things go south, ... Now, when things go south, it might just be a blessing. So this episode was actually inspired by a recent event that happened for the three of us. And I'm sure you can all think of like moments in your life when things started to, something bad, quote unquote, bad happen, or something spiraled, or you think things are going downhill, down south, however you want to refer to it. And you might think, oh my God, as if this just happened. This is like the worst thing ever. Now I have to redo this, or now I have to like come up with a new solution. And we're going to talk about like that moment and then the things that can come from that. But let me explain the situation that happened. So recently we did a 3-part series where we did a deep dive with each one of us. Hannah kicked it off. Then we did one with me, and then we recorded one with Stacia, and we took time. Can't remember if Hannah and I were both sick at the time. I think it was around the time we had a lot going on. I think 2 of us were sick. Maybe I was still sick. I'm not sure. But anyway, we took the time and we got ready and we recorded.
It went really good. It was so good.
And we recorded this beautiful episode with Stacia. And it was the first time that I said, hey, I'll record this time, Hannah, so you don't have to. We'll record it on my computer, which several years old at this point. And so we record it, everything's fine, we say goodbye. And then after, when you use Zoom to record, after it has to convert. On my dinosaur of a computer that I had, it took like at least an hour to convert. And I decided, okay, I'm going to try and do other things while it's converting on my computer. And all of a sudden the screen froze. And I thought, well, maybe I just need to like try and close some of the,
Yeah, but wait, don't just blame yourself for this and don't just take it all on. We started talking and we decided, let's do this. Why don't we try this, whatever. And we started uploading something else or doing something.
We were trying to multitask because
we were multitasking.
We all crammed you with stuff and we decided, oh, how great, what a great idea to do this while this happened.
Yes.
Continue.
Thank you. So it froze. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it'll like just come around. So I'm like, I'm going to go have a shower and come back. I came back and I've never seen my screen look like this. It was just like everything was distorted in like geometrical shapes. I took a screenshot and sent it to the ladies. I'm like, oh my God, this is what my computer looks like. I'm like, I'm going to have to reboot it and I'm going to lose the recording because it's converting to my computer, not the cloud. And I'm like, when I reboot this, it's going to be gone. And of course I rebooted it and it was gone. And in the moment I was like, it's gone. The recording's gone. Like we're going to have to redo it. And you ladies can step in with their reactions. But I was just like, and at this point it was probably like 2 a.m, maybe, when I messaged you. I think it was later. I'm like, it's done. And then, so, okay, maybe we should stop there and just say like, let's say how we could react, how you did react, and like how that could have spiraled very badly. When things go south, it could have kept going. So, but
it could have spiraled, but it didn't. Because even when you were saying it's gone, I'm like, maybe it's not gone. So
I'm like,
check it in the morning. Maybe it'll be.
It might come back.
I thought we were gonna recover it for sure.
Yeah.
The eternal optimist. I
Right?
was like, oh, don't worry. It's so late anyway. We worked so hard. It's gonna
Yeah.
show back up.
Like,
I mean,
it'll be
something's gonna happen. It'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like it was gone forever.
It was.
The next
You
day, I'm
know,
like, I'm like,
even
waiting.
when we found out it was gone, we were still like, it's okay.
and it was like kind of like, okay, it was like, well, next time maybe we'll do this, like even with my computer. But for me, then it was like, okay, I lost my whole, like I was telling Andrew, I'm like, and it was so weird because like right before that, Andrew had said, you need a new computer. There was something happened. I'm like, yeah, I needed to get a new computer. And
But
then
also,
I'm gonna share that.
oh, okay.
I'm gonna share. But and then I'm like, so when this happened, I'm like, okay, now I for sure need a new computer because this this just isn't gonna happen right now. Yeah, what should I share first, Hannah? What the result or like what the
The
manifestation?
result, and then the
And then,
realization.
okay, so
Because
the
when we're
weird-
going through things, I'm sorry, when we're going through things, we don't put two and two together sometimes,
Right.
right? We're not able to see the big picture because we're living it in the moment. It's like, okay, so what do we do now? Then we're looking at schedules because now we were supposed to be ahead in the recording. And then that set us back a little bit. We wanted to have like a backup of episodes so that we would never have to stress, because stress is something that none of us like. And I'm sure if you're watching, you don't like stress either. And we were because we all have other things and our businesses and everything, we thought we would get ahead. And then this was like a big setback because also it was a little bit emotional. I think more for Sarah and I than for Stacia, because Stacia is Stacia. and if we lose all her stuff, she'll be like, well, it was meant to be, whatever. But for us, we felt like, I felt really guilty that it was her episode. And I was thinking, oh my God, why wasn't it mine? Because I wouldn't mind recording mine over. But, and it was like, and it had to be Stacia's. And oh my God, I feel bad. And we were going down that route, right? I don't know how you were feeling, Sarah, but you can tell us.
Well, and I felt bad because I was like, oh no, I was the one who took on recording it this time. And then then it didn't work. And I was like, oh my God. And then now I failed them because I didn't have the equipment couldn't handle it, like Stacia could have been, or Hannah could have been like, well, I could have just recorded and this wouldn't happen. Right. Like there's so many guilty things that like you feel that guilt come up. And yeah, especially because
Right.
like, how did you get over? We got to put her through this again.
No, and it's so easy to go down the path of blame and shame, like, right? It's so easy to do that. And the thing is, we've worked at this long enough to know that A, that doesn't get us anywhere. B, we love each other. C, it could have been me, it could have been Stacia, it could have been you. It doesn't matter. It was just not meant to be.
Yeah. And you guys didn't make me feel that way. I just felt like that.
Of course, I felt like that with Stacia, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then it was like, well, okay, we've apologized, but there's nothing we can do. We've already lost the episode. But then it was like, and I asked, I wonder what awesomeness is going to come out of this. Right. And so now continue with the story.
So that same day after it happened, so that happened at night, and then the next day, my brother was over for dinner, and he's a computer guy too. Andrew's a computer guy. Thank God I have these computer people, because I don't know. I don't know what would be going on. And he's like, oh, look, and he didn't even know. He was like, oh, look, there's these, or I saw some, what is like Apple computers on like the marketplace. And I was like, oh, well, I lost my whole, like my computer's done. Like I lost like the whole episode. And he's like, oh, there's this computer, it's really good, it's only like a year old, and it was like listed for a certain amount. I'm like, okay, well, like message her. He messaged her, and he offered like $500 less. He's like, yeah, let's just see what she says. And she took it. We went that night, got the computer. Like all within 24 hours, I had a like almost brand new computer on my desk. And I was like, oh, we'll start looking for one, or maybe I'll buy a brand new one or whatever. And it all happened like it was like the next night. We could have recorded the next night on my computer, right? And it would have been good to go. But the weird thing, and this is what I want to share, is Hannah and I had a conversation. I don't even remember if it was like, it was just you and I, or if it was like on the meditation. Do you remember?
I think it was just you and I were talking.
I don't remember like exactly the context or why it was even like how it even came up. But one of the things we said was, and Hannah said that she's like, I'm I can't remember the exact word. It was like, we're manifesting you a new computer before the end of the year. And
We're actualizing you.
actualizing. And it was like, yeah, okay. It wasn't like, oh, well, how's that gonna happen? Or I was like all excited. I'm like, oh yeah. It was like someone said to me, it was as if someone said, oh, I'm getting you a new computer before the end of she might as well say, I'm getting you a new computer before that. That's how it felt, like real, like, oh yeah, I'm getting a new computer. Like if your mom, when your kid said, oh, we're going to, I don't know, the zoo or the McDonald's, or I don't know, neither of those things I enjoy now. Sorry, my cat wants out. But it was just like how excited you would get, like, oh, I'm gonna get this, and I'm so excited. And that was what, December, I don't remember the date, but it was before Christmas. Yeah, it was before Christmas. And I was like, I got the
It was
computer.
like
And then
maybe a week or two before Christmas at the most. It was
Yeah,
very
and-
close to Christmas.
yeah. And then that moment came back to me. Like once I had the computer, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Hannah, do you remember saying this to me? And it was like, and you're like, oh my God. I'm like, this all happened because I would have never mentioned that to my brother. He would have never been like, oh, well, he's like, oh, I saw one. And what are the odds? Like he had been looking at that. Like it was just so weird that he mentioned that. I brought up that I needed a computer. He messaged the girl, like it all just happened. And I'm like, if I hadn't lost the episode, I probably would have been like, oh, I can make my computer work for a little bit longer. And who knows, maybe something more, maybe I would have lost all my files, right? Like I could have lost everything if I kept pushing it. And
Or not found the deal that you found.
not found the deal, like,
Because it's the sliding doors concept that I keep telling you about, that it's like in that moment you show up and then that opportunity shows up and you align to it, and it's just going through the doors that start opening, and it's like, and all of a sudden you have the computer on your desk working perfectly, flawlessly, so amazing. And then in that moment, remembering, oh my God, it's before the end of the year. And we said it, and I accepted it, and I received it. So you received it in the moment that I told you we're getting you that computer before the end of the year.
Yes.
That's when you received it. It just took a while to show up in your reality.
exactly.
But you had accepted it in that moment without any resistance whatsoever. You said yes. That it was like,
It was like you said, I'm giving you this, and it's like, oh my God, like that's exactly what it was. It was like I received it, and then I physically received it after. And the other thing that came from this was, so now we had to record this new episode, and when we re-recorded it, I was like, after Hannah and I are like, oh my God, we're like, this was like, just the first episode was great, Stacia, but this was like a whole new, I feel like you would like up leveled or something, even since that time that we had that conversation. Like it was a whole different energy that
Yeah.
you brought to that recording. And I was like,
And we brought the same thing. We just started flowing.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Mhm.
And the questions just started coming right after the other in such a way that it was just like flowing into the question. There was nothing forced, nothing awkward. You know, when you have to ask a question, it's like you're thinking of this question that is maybe unrelated to what you're talking about, and you have to bring it in. And it's like, yeah, we're talking about, I don't know, about a red ball. And then all of a sudden we're talking about, the stock market. And then you have to make it fit.
mhm.
And it's, well, speaking of red balls, let's switch over to the stock market or something like that. That is, you feel that it gets completely unrelated. And none of the questions felt like that. Every question just glided into the next question. And then Stacia, you can tell us your experience of it and how it looked from your end, because you're the one that was like,
Yes.
you
And can
really-
I say one thing before you
Yeah.
do?
No, go ahead.
I also think you were very open and vulnerable and unfiltered in the second one.
For sure. And I feel that too. Like, we were so excited about the first recording because this is all new to us and we're learning, and everything just was really good when we recorded. And then we lost it, but I just decided it was okay. I'm like, we'll record it again. It's going to be fine. And you hit it right on the head. We've had, we're always doing the work, and we've had some pretty amazing meditations here recently, and things are just aligning, and it just made it so much easier to go so much deeper than the first recording. And then we just kind of built on that. It's like, wow, she said this, let's go here. And it felt really beautiful, and hopefully we won't lose that episode, but if we do, we'll record it again.
It's safe. I even made a copy of it.
We'll just record it a third time. It's okay.
Third time's a charm. No, we're not doing that. That was a beautiful episode. I mean, we had tears in our eyes a lot of the time during the episode. And we found out things about Stacia that, in the 3 episodes, we have found things out about each other that we all didn't know, because we don't know about our pasts. We started working and we went forward.
Right.
But we never had the time or even the inclination to sit and ask, well, what did you do? How did you grow up, or whatever?
Mhm.
And it made us just, I feel it made us gain a new level of respect for each other amongst ourselves, just because it's like, oh, wow, you've gone through this and you've been through this and this happened to you. I didn't know you went through this. And it's like, it was really beautiful. And yeah, I think these episodes have been a consequence of the work that we keep doing, right? Regularly, because we're consistently committed to the work. And now it's like the universe is saying, well, go deeper and go deeper and go deeper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scary because it's like we're bearing our souls here and sharing stuff with you guys that maybe we haven't even shared with, like I've said things here that I haven't even shared with anybody else. Things that of people that I know, it's like they don't know my childhood. They don't know what I've gone through. They don't know my traumas or my challenges, right? And now we're here literally bearing our souls. And I think that all of us have leveled, and the energy that was brought, because in that moment we were deciding on whether we would record that episode or another one, because we were giving Stacia a choice, and she just looked stunning, and she's like, I'm ready. And I'm like,
Probably.
I'm
Thank
like,
you.
that's the spirit. Let's
Flowing.
just let's just do it. Let's just do it. And it felt right in the moment. We just went with what felt right.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
and
then,
it wasn't like, oh, we're asking questions. Like you said, it wasn't like, oh, we're asking questions. It was like a conversation, and it was like a behind the scenes conversation, but for everybody listening.
yeah, and it felt so good. I hope it felt as good for you as it felt for us, Stacia.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It made me think, with this topic, when we originally had our launch party and we had the swag bag gifts, and I couldn't get my meditation to the recording, I couldn't convert it to send it. And I recorded it like 3 different times. And then finally the 4th time I got it to work, and then I got the best compliments of it. And I was like, oh, this is not what I wanted. And everybody's like, no, it was perfect. I'm like, okay. But it's just,
we're hard on
yeah,
ourselves,
giving
but
into those though. We have these expectations of how we feel things are supposed to be. And
Mhm.
sometimes that leaves out so many opportunities for how it's, how it's actually going to come together and actualize for you. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, and when those things happen, so much can come from it, right? Like, but it's true. So in the moment, for the listeners, it might be hard to imagine, like, how can this be a good thing? You know what? Actually, Stacey's episode, which hopefully when this airs, I imagine the listeners will have listened to each of our episodes, and you share quite deeply about that, with like what happened to you with your husband and that, right? And how that could
Right.
have been a moment of, that's things really going south. Like, that's a hard thing to deal with.
Right.
And then
Right.
how we can pivot that. Maybe
Well, we
we can
talked about choice, remember?
choice. And that's what I was gonna
Choice.
say. Maybe
Yeah.
let's give some like tangible things here where, okay, let's say shit does hit the fan. I don't know, maybe you're not listening to a podcast episode, but think of something else. Maybe you burnt the dinner and you have 10 people coming over and it's burnt in the oven. What do? Shit's hit the fan, things have gone south. Like, what are some things we can give the listeners that in that moment, because you can't unburn the chicken, right? So it's like, what do? Right? Are you going to freak out and panic? Maybe
Right.
something's
So,
better coming from it. Maybe
I
you're
know
going
we
to
have
go,
our quote queen, but I have a saying that serves me really well. And I always say it's very profound, very profound.
okay.
And it says, out of the shit grow the flowers.
I knew it was going to be fun. When she said it was profound, I'm like, oh, boy, yeah. Right?
Well, that's all you can do is just be honest about what's happening and
Well,
decide.
But
Like-
wait, no, there's really something behind this. I know it sounds really vulgar and gross.
Let's let her elaborate.
But I always say that whenever, out of every moment, there's a blessing hidden in there. In every situation, there's a blessing. Sometimes you have to dig deeper, Sherlock. Where is it? Dig deeper, or Sherlock, or Watson, or whatever. It's like you have to keep digging because the gift is very hard to find. But what if when things go south, and we can talk about something like 10 people coming to dinner and you really burn the food, or you can talk about losing your job right before Christmas, right? Like a lot of people just went through. Or you can talk about worse, losing a loved one. And if you think about that, you can say, well, what fucking gift am I going to find in that? Right? And sometimes the gift is not apparent until after.
Yeah.
And when you look back and you said, well, if that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't have happened. So in the moment, it might be really difficult to see the to see the blessing in it, because sure as heck is, losing someone definitely doesn't appear to be a blessing. Losing your job like right before Christmas definitely doesn't appear to be a blessing, or getting hurt at work. I mean, I've have so many stories of people going through hardship right now that for me to stand here and tell them, well, it's a blessing in disguise, and you're gonna find the gift, they're gonna just like throw up pie at my face, right? Because it is in the moment, it might be very, very challenging to even contemplate the possibility of a blessing being somewhere hidden in there.
And I think like that's there was something to say with that. It was like when it's not so much even like looking for, oh, what's the blessing out of this? It's just being open to the idea of something better is going to come. Like in that moment for us, when like the podcast episode lost, it was like, okay, I think we all just trusted that something better was going to come. Better episode, I got a new computer that, I didn't like, it just all sort of fell into place. Like, but it wasn't like, oh, let's go looking for it. It was just trusting that, okay, something better is going to come from this. And even when you gave the job example, maybe you're finding your way to your passion that you never knew, or you buried down, or you never gave yourself the opportunity to even explore. And now you're like, well, what better opportunity than when I've lost a job? You can see that as, oh, this is shit, and I'm going to go on employment and just like look for another shitty job. Or you can be like, maybe this is my opportunity and my sign to be like, go after what you actually want. We're giving you the freedom and the time to go do that.
Yeah. And like, for example, I can give the example of my grandmother when she lost her husband, and she was about 38, I think. She had 4 teenage children and a week-old baby. And you can think, oh my God, what a tragedy, right? And ultimately, I think for my grandmother, I mean, I never knew my grandfather, so forgive me, Grandpa, for what I'm going to say. But from what I've heard, my grandmother had a life that she never would have had she stayed married with this person. He even bought her underwear, like her panties. Oh. He would go out to like to buy silver downtown, and on the way back, all the stores were downtown at that time. Like, so he would pass a clothing store. Oh, let me walk in there and get her some underwear. And he'd come in, it's like, here, I've got you some underwear. And I'm like, what? What do you mean he bought your underwear? He's like, yeah, if I wanted a Coke, he'd go to the corner and get it for me. I didn't go to the corner and get my Coca-Cola.
Wow.
And it was like, he like did everything, made every decision. What he said was the law. And my grandmother just pretty much did as she was told. And my grandmother, she has sass, and she was a sassy lady, and she ended up traveling to Europe and traveling all over the place, and Canada and all these places, and she would go to Miami all the time. I made it my mission in life to have her go to the Lipton. It used to be called the Lipton tennis tournament in Miami, in Key Biscayne, where we used to live. And I was like, I'm getting her tickets for the tennis so she can see Andre Agassi play, because she loved Andre Agassi. And so I got her tickets for for the whole thing, and they were in the final. So she was like overjoyed. And then on that same trip, she loved John Travolta. So did I. And
oh my God.
And I was like, one day I'm going to have you meet John Travolta. And I found out he was going to be signing a book at Borders in Coconut Grove in Miami. And I'm, Tita, John Travolta's gonna be there, we're going. And I took her, and when we got there, I was like, she's 84, like she was my mom's age, and John Travolta, the guards, the bodyguards were like, okay, move it, move it, move it, right? It was like, just like, thank you. He would sign it and leave. And he just went like, hey, like he stopped the guys. And he literally looked at my grandmother, and I said, my grandmother loves you. She's from Mexico, and she's loved you. And I said, I love you too. She loved you forever. And I'm making, by meeting her, you're making a dream come true for her. So I'm so grateful. And he literally stopped for 5 minutes and talked to my grandmother and stopped everything and told her how much he appreciated her and how old she was, and she looked great and she was fantastic and stuff. And he just like buttered up my grandmother to the nines. And my grandmother and I have left that bookstore like walking on clouds.
Oh my gosh, that made me cry.
Wow.
But it was just like, oh my God, right? And none of that would have happened if these, you know, if
Still together.
hadn't lost her husband and been widowed when she was 30 freaking 8,
Wow.
you know. And it's yeah, incredible to think about it that way, right? Because in the moment, I mean, my mom went through so much stuff. My mother wouldn't be who she is.
Exactly.
Yeah, because she had to become head of household
Correct.
at 17 and quit school and everything. And she's still like, these paintings behind me, they're all my mom's paintings,
Wow.
right?
Mm.
She became an artist, and maybe she wouldn't have. She would have become a housewife. She wouldn't have married my dad. I mean, so many things could have.
The butterfly effect, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I love that. I think so. Big one is like trusting it. And then Stacey, you had mentioned like that decision too, right? In that moment, like, what are you going to
Well,
do?
you have to surrender to
Mm,
the fact that we don't control things. We have
What?
this idea
No.
that
talking
we
to a
are
bunch of
like,
control freaks here
Oh
now.
my
like
God.
this movie director, you know, like this movie director of our lives, and then we find out that everybody has their own movie directors, and we're all kind of working, you know, however we're working. So it's surrendering to that what is, so that you can allow those opportunities to come in, because you don't know where they're going to come from. And like Hannah said, you're not going to maybe see the lesson for maybe a while, until you finally realize, well, you know what, if this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here, or this wouldn't, you know, this wouldn't be here. And that's hard, because we want to hold on to what we think it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
And I think like it's obviously it's okay to feel the emotions in the moment of something happening, especially like something, a big thing. But I think it's not letting that moment define you, or holding, especially if it is a smaller thing like burning the chicken. Like not letting that eat you up or consume you or ruin your whole fucking night, or you know, like we could have made such a big deal about this podcast. They could have shit on me if they wanted to and be like, well, you said you were recording it, you should have made sure you had, like it could have went all kinds of crazy ways, but we decided that it wasn't going to mean anything. We can't change what's happened, and I think that's a big thing. I think like you said, like we can't control it, we can't change it either. Like we can't go back and change anything that happened. We can't rewind and be like, oh, you know, I won't try to do 10 million things on my computer while it's trying to convert. It is what it is. It's happened. So what, like holding on or replaying it over and over in your mind isn't going to change it, isn't going to make it come back. That's something I used to do a lot. Like that was a big thing for me. I'd be like, if I would have did this, then if I would have did this, then this would have happened. And then I go back and be like, if I would have did this, then this would have, like, I would replay the same thing over and over and over and over. It's like, what am I doing? I can't change it. And that same exact situation is never going to happen again. So like, it's done. Like, let it go. And the energy that I would put into going over and over and over something in my mind could have been spent towards something more productive and moving forward and trying something different, or just fucking not worrying about it and living my life, and look at something better comes along.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it keeps you stuck in that energy, you
Yeah.
know, that shoulda, shoulda.
Shoulda, coulda,
Mhm.
woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
For me, it wasn't shoulda, coulda, woulda. It was like, I got betrayed by my husband.
Mm,
And then it was like I lived in that betrayal, and I told the story of betrayal to anyone who would listen. My friends were so kind and gracious. I'm surprised they're still my friends, because I told them the story not once, not twice, but many times. When anything would trigger me, this is because he left me. And then one day I was doing this workshop, this access consciousness workshop, and then Gary Douglas asked me a question. He said, did he leave you, or had you left him before? And I was like, excuse me? Did he leave you, or did you leave him before that?
Mm.
And I was like, well, and I was like, did he just leave you because you had already left, and he had no, it's like you left him before.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had prayed to God for many nights. I prayed wrong. I remember I told you that. I was like, God, if this is the man for me, let him be the man I married. And if he's not, please just take him the fuck away, because I cannot live like this another day. And I would cry myself to sleep. I just didn't know to ask with ease and joy and glory.
Yeah.
So he took him away in the only way he could. And the only way he could was betrayal, which hurt me profoundly, because I thought he was my best friend. And it was a rude awakening to find out that I was his best friend, but he wasn't my best friend. And I was like, oh, okay, listen, note to self, pick your friends better next time. And I always say the thing that I thought was my biggest tragedy was actually my biggest blessing.
I agree.
So, you know,
Yeah.
now how many times have I lost stuff? I just lost my entire hard drive after, remember?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. It all happened around the same time.
I went to look for, because we were talking about stuff. I'm like, I have an episode that speaks on that. I don't
Yes,
even remember what it
that's
was.
right. I do.
And I went to look for, I'm like, I'm looking
I
for it,
forgot about that.
but maybe it's here. And
And I look at my hard drive, and my hard drive is blank.
I just put it away. I just couldn't handle another
She's
loss.
like, one crisis at a time, one
Yeah.
crisis at a time here.
Well, and something else I hear people say too, right? Like, oh, when stuff goes bad, things come in three, and everything's going like, oh, it's all bad luck sitting my way. Like, people will just spiral, and it's like,
Yeah. They're inviting that energy.
Exactly.
You know, it's like they're just calling it in. Yes. It's like, oh no, it's going to be terrible because this happened, so something else bad's going to happen. It's like, of course it's going to happen, because that's what you're looking for now, and
Yes.
here it comes.
Yes.
Here
And
it comes.
I always would hear like things come in three. It's like, well, you're probably like paying attention. Shit probably happens all the time, but like you're paying attention to it, right?
Right.
It's like, what if good things come in 3 or 5 or 10 or 20? Like, how will we look at that? Like, are you looking at all the good things that are happening in the day too? You fucking woke up. There you go. There's one right off the bat. Now, the rest of it's up to you. But you're awake, you're alive, you're in the moment.
Something that can maybe help people when they are in the situation and they're not able to see the gift or the lesson is to just really focus on what is going right. You know, really put that gratitude towards things that are okay, and know and trust that everything else is just going to work itself out, because it can be really hard, you know, especially depending on what's happening. So it's not like we're like, oh yeah, it's just just flip your mind
No.
and be positive. It's like, that's
No,
not how
by
it
no
works.
means to that. That's
Yeah.
not
So
at
it's
all.
okay to feel those feelings. It's just, don't allow yourself to get stuck in those feelings, because then you
But
create a trap, and then you can stay in there, and that's definitely not where you want to be. So
It's not fun.
no.
Take it from me.
I think we've all been there. It's we learn, we evolve, and it sometimes seems like it's so much easier, but also we have that ability to look back and say, yeah, that's what I was doing, and that's what kept happening, and now I've made a new choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
yes.
I just want to add on that, like, also look at the people you have around you and your support system. Like, we have such a, like, the three of us, everything we're doing, we're very supportive of one another. But I think of, like, even like you, Station, when you talked about, like, your husband passing, or you had all these deaths back to back to back, and like you were like a support person for people. You said you're like, I kind of like, and you, that felt really good to you to be able to help support people. And I always think about, like, when those things happen, even this year we lost like 3 family members, but I think about, one, the people that were around us, right? Like the support system that I had. And then 2, like the things that came from that. And it's never fun losing people, but it really, like, for me, it makes me appreciate my time with my people that I have more, right? And spending time with them and making the time. And I think I use those moments as like a wake up call. Like, the bigger things is like, what can this teach me now? Like, how can I live my life in a is this telling me to slow down? Is it telling me to spend more time with family? Is it telling me to be more intentional? Even the thing with the podcast, is it like, was it an opportunity for us to be more vulnerable and open and just let it be more of a conversation and have it flow? And it was that. We didn't know that in the moment, but we realized it after. As soon as we were done recording that, we're like, holy fuck, okay, well, here we go. Like, this was the episode. That episode was fine, but this is the episode, right? And we don't know that. So anyway, that's just what I want to share. Look at, like, don't look for it, but just maybe be more open-minded in those moments.
Yeah, because we don't see the big picture, right? We're just in the moment seeing the bark, not even the tree, and the forest is out there. And sometimes there's so many better things awaiting us that if we don't, I always say we have to let go of our garbage, and we're walking around with our garbage bags, and they're our badge of honor, like all our trash from the past, all our traumas, everything that happened to us, everything that didn't go right. And for some bizarre reason, we humans have a tendency to try to we're hoarders.
Mhm.
We even hoard garbage. And it's like, all we have to do is let go of the garbage bag so we can be open to receive new things. Sometimes, I always say, by choice or by force, we have to let go of stuff to allow new things to flow into our lives. And we're so stubborn, and we try to hold on to the garbage. And we keep walking with the thing. And it's like, oh, you want to see my garbage? And it's like, I don't know anyone who would take the garbage bag and start pulling out the garbage to show your friends, unless people who actually go through garbage to survive, but it's not the case. But, like showing off, oh, look, I threw out this potato peel, and now it's all smelling rotten. And it's like, look at all my rotten stuff that I threw out. It's
I
like,
have so much of it. See?
there's like such an abundance.
Yes.
And it's like, why do we do that, right? It's like, throw it out, don't look at it on the way out, just let it go, and allow yourself to make space and make room for the new. Because we're so used to whatever's going on that even if it's horrible, we'd rather have that than to chance the fear and the risk of having, it's like too scary to try something new sometimes, right? When we're in a job that we hate and we stick it out there because what am I going to do if I let go of this job? Well, perhaps get a better one.
Yeah. I've done that with relationships, jobs, and then both were better when I was like, or like something pulled it from my hand. Okay, you're getting rid of that one.
Oh, let go of it.
In my case, it's going. Well, someone's taking that. The garbage man's coming eventually, and taking that from you. So you might as well just let it go. It's much easier and better for it. Better relationship. Better, like I'm in my business. So thank you, Hannah. That was a perfect way. Perfect way to end that. And I love that analogy. So now you'll see our beautiful quote of the day graphic go across the screen.
Quote of the day.
You know, to wrap this up before I hit the quote, you know, one thing that I've really learned, regardless of how everything is going, is whatever is meant for me is not going to pass me. And that can be difficult because sometimes we feel like we've got to let things go and they might come back. So we've got to surrender to that and just know that it's okay. So let's get to this quote here. Here we are. Are you ready? The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. That's Alan Wilson Watts. I love that. I thought it was great.
Oh my
How now, brown cow.
I love that we don't know the quote too. We're just like, what is it? And showing
Like,
us.
how does she do this every time?
I know.
But I love that, you know, it's just surrendering to what is and being open to receive, you know, all that you can, that you have these possibilities without limiting yourself by trying to decide, you know, where that path is going to take you and cutting off all the others. So
and dance with it. Like, don't try and fight it.
Dance with it. Right. Plunge into it, move with it, dance.
If I ever got a boyfriend. Okay, that's another episode.
Okay.
It's psychoanalyzing me. One episode will be about psychoanalyzing me.
I've already written down 2 new topics from this conversation. So now we got another one. Psychoanalyzing
potential men friends.
Yeah. Just do a dating episode. What do you call it? Love Line. What was it called? What was that dating show?
Which one? There's so many.
Oh my God. It was like, I think it was like in the 70s or something.
Oh,
80s, maybe the 80s.
Was it like a game show kind of like?
Yeah, and they got to pick someone. Love Connection.
Was it the love connection?
Love Connection.
I think
that's what we'll do for you, Hannah. Love Connection.
We'll have people that I'm not seeing. I'm gonna ask them questions, and I'm like,
yes. You picking number 1, number 2, or number 3? Okay.
She's gonna be like, let me just feel their energy.
Yeah.
Get rid of all of them. All of them need to go. You bring in some new ones.
That sounds about right. Oh my God. Okay.
We're diverging.
On that note, thank you everyone for being here. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to let us know if you're watching us on YouTube. Feel free to comment along. Let us know if you have any questions, ideas for future topics for our episodes. Rate, review us, all the things, and we will see
us at
or email us at the rippleeffectpod@gmail.com. Yes, you can catch us on there too. Follow us on Instagram, all the places. And we are so happy that you were here, and we hope that you will go create a ripple effect in your own lives. Thank you for being here. See you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to The Ripple Effect by the Alliance with Hannah Martinez,
Stacia Stove.
And Sarah Jane Lita. We hope you're now vibing high and ready to create your own ripple.
Drop a comment or email to let us know the ripple effect that you are creating.
Music by our very own Hannah Martinez and music production by Onel Moulet.
Follow us on Instagram at The Ripple Effect Pod for more high vibration content. Please rate and review us wherever you listen.
Until next time.